Alright, dude, I have a prediction. The Metroid Prime Trilogy will not come to the Nintendo Switch, and Metroid Prime 4 will drop the 4 and become the start of a whole new era of Metroid. Let's talk about it. Now, you may be thinking, I'm crazy. I do not know what I'm talking about. And yeah, you're probably right, but hear me out. Hear me out. If we're gonna understand why I think this is the case, we have to look at Nintendo's history with the Metroid franchise and the current state of Metroid. So going all the way back, Metroid Prime 3, which was the latest game in the trilogy, came out in 2007. Now let me set the stage for you on that. Let me dig if you will a picture. That was 13 years ago. This was a year before Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out on the Wii. This was not only the same year Galaxy 1 came out, but Galaxy 2 was 2 whole years away. We were still playing on DS Lites at this time. Now, why does this matter, you may be thinking, and I'll tell you why. The Metroid trilogy is not like any other Nintendo trilogies in that there is a story to follow. So when you look at other trilogies, you look at Luigi's Mansion, okay, there's no story. I mean, maybe there's like a little rough story with Professor Egad, okay, cool, whatever. If you look at Donkey Kong Country trilogy, there's no story. If you look at the Super Mario NES trilogy, there's no story. That's fine. But Metroid does have a story, and I think that that's the beginning of the problem. There are millions and millions of Nintendo fans that have no idea what the story is behind Metroid Prime. Not only that, but there's millions of Nintendo fans that have never even played a Metroid game, and that's totally fine. There's no judgment in that. That's totally fine. But there's also millions of Nintendo Switch fans. Not only that, but there's millions of new Nintendo Switch fans. Nintendo Switch fans that are getting into Nintendo for the first time in their entire life. Nintendo Switch fans that are possibly getting back into Nintendo for the first time in a long time. And those fans would love for the new Metroid Prime 4 to be their first Metroid experience. And what do I mean by that? Since a lot of people have not played Metroid, and I'm going to get into how we know a lot of people have not played Metroid. Since a lot of people have not played Metroid and have not played the Prime Trilogy, it would be foolish of Nintendo to make Metroid Prime 4 a sequel to a trilogy that nobody's played in the past 13 years. And I'm going to explain why. This could be the jumping on point in the same way Breath of the Wild was for Zelda, but for Metroid, for a lot of people. Now, one of the reasons why Breath of the Wild was able to get so many people on board, amongst other reasons, was it had zero story attachment. And what do I mean by that? People are just able to play Breath of the Wild without feeling like they missed anything in any previous game ever. It feels like its own self-contained story. Now, for all the Zelda people and all the Zelda nerds out there, there's plenty of lore, there's plenty of little Easter eggs, there's plenty of things that you notice, and things that if you've played the past games, that you will understand, and you'll have a deeper understanding of the world and the lore. And that's great. Stuff like the Temple of Time, stuff like the Hylian Shield, stuff like Master Sword. Okay, we all understand what all of those things are. But for other people that are just now playing Zelda for the first time, that's just Link's sword. That's just Link's shield. That's just this broken down building that nobody knows what it is. But then what do? You start learning more. You start researching. You start figuring out, oh, there's more than meets the eye. I want to go back and play the past Zelda games. Now, how does that compare to the Metroid Prime Trilogy and Metroid Prime 4? Nintendo could just easily release the Metroid Prime Trilogy on Switch and get people ready for Prime 4, right? Wrong. This is where everybody is thinking about it wrong. This brings me to the inconvenient truth about Metroid sales. The series as a whole has sold 17 million copies. And you may be thinking, okay, that's cool, that's good news, right? No, wrong. Breath of the Wild, the game we've been talking about, has sold that much in 3 years. This one game has outsold the entire 30-year-old series called Metroid in 3 years. And so you're thinking then, okay, well, why don't they just release the Prime Trilogy on Switch and get people excited for Prime 4? Okay, I'll tell you why. First impressions are essential. Nintendo is not going to expose its hyper successful 55 million Switch player base to 3 13-year-old games as their first experience for the series, especially when the series doesn't even sell well in the first place. It's too big a risk, period. If you are Nintendo, you're going to Breath of the Wild your base with a completely new, fresh, innovative take on a series that they've been hearing so many good things about, because Metroid although it has not sold like Nintendo's essential series, Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, it has critical acclaim on the level of Zelda, on the level of Mario. Pokemon, not so much in recent year. But Metroid is regarded in critical acclaim. Nobody's saying Metroid Prime or the trilogy is a bad series or bad games. Nobody's ever saying that. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is these games are old. They are old games. They are 13 plus years old. Even with an HD coat of paint, they are not as shiny as brand new games. They still have things about them that are retro. They still have things about them that have not aged well. And it would be foolish to think people will forgive that as their first experience, especially casual gamers in this day and age who have heard so many great things about the Metroid Prime series. Now for the current state of Metroid. Development got pushed back, we all know that, and I think this is the reason why. I think Nintendo was working on the game as Prime 4, and they realized early on, or maybe even late on, that it was going to alienate too many people. And they restarted, simple as that. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know every single reason why they restarted the game, and that's fine. We don't need to know, but I do think that this had something to do with it. So, okay, now you're thinking, well, why don't they still just release the Prime Trilogy for Switch, and then release Prime 4, and everyone will play it, and the Prime Trilogy is going to sell millions and millions of units, and then millions and millions of people are going to want to play Prime 4. It's not that simple. Even if millions of people buy the Prime Trilogy, how many people are going to play all three straight and be ready for Prime 4? Not only that, how many people are not going to buy the Prime Trilogy and just want to buy Prime 4 because they just want to jump in at this point? Some people don't even know the Prime Trilogy is going to come out. Some people are just going to see that there is a new Metroid game out and they're going to want to play it. There's going to be millions and millions of people who are just too intimidated to jump in because they know, oh, this is the fourth game in a series. And not only that, but of a series that has an ongoing story. And how old's the story? 13 years old at minimum? Yeah, I'm not going to play that. That's too much. So here's what I bet. I bet that the next time we see Metroid Prime 4, it will not be called Metroid Prime 4. There will be no 4 anywhere in the title. And it's going to be a completely new story, something that anyone can follow. And it's going to have little Easter eggs and references to the Prime Trilogy, similar to what Breath of the Wild did. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be brand new. You're going to love it. I'm going to love it. Nobody's hating on the Metroid Prime Trilogy. Don't hate me for saying any of this. This is just what I think Nintendo's going to do. So that's it, dude. That's my prediction for the Metroid Prime Trilogy and Metroid Prime 4. Now, obviously, you're not going to like this theory. I don't even like this theory. But leave a like if you do like the videos I've been putting out. And make sure to write in the comments and explain to me why I'm extremely wrong. Because I'm probably wrong. Nintendo's probably going to release the Prime Trilogy in a few days, and this whole video will be pointless. But anyway, leave a comment below whether you think I'm right or wrong, and subscribe for more honest and brutal Nintendo theories. Alright, dude, talk to you later.